Hello friends, and welcome to the Shaman's View. Today I'd like to share with you strategies that you can use to face and surmount the winter blues. The winter blues is what happens to us when we have less sunlight available to us. We are creatures of the sun. When the sun begins to diminish, not only do we produce less vitamin D3, and vitamin D is necessary to keep up the the springtime mood that we love to spend, that we thrive in. So it's not only your lack of vitamin D that you're suffering from, but also the light. We're photosensitive beings. We need light, unless, of course, you were born and raised in the Arctic Circle, in which case you don't have the need for light that the rest of us do. When people look at depression and anxiety, they find that there's a direct correlation between the incidence of depression and anxiety and the latitude that you live in. The closer you get to the North and the South Poles, the more moodiness, the more depression, the more anxiety, the more suicides that you find in these societies. So how do we deal with this? Well, I'd like to share a couple of strategies with you. One is, today we have the abilities that shamans never had before, which is that we can bring more sunlight into our spaces. We can get full spectrum lights. Get a couple of full spectrum lights and put them behind you, not in front of you, so that they're washing your field with the full spectrum of natural sunlight. The other thing is the red light. The red light therapy is so important. And we're doing a lot of research right now at the Four Winds on how red light therapy can help you to enter those states of clarity and lucidity that we associate with shamanic journeying and with deep spiritual healing. So red light means light in the near infrared and far infrared, about 860 nanometers. You can order these from Amazon. Just Google red light therapy and you get a tremendous amount of options. Get the ones that are not heat lamps. The heat lamps are also red light therapy, but they have a lot of energy in the invisible part of the spectrum that we really don't need, and therefore they generate a lot of heat. Get the ones that are LEDs, that don't generate a lot of heat, but that feed your mitochondria. Your mitochondria need light, and they produce light, and they specifically need this part of the spectrum, the red light. They also need a little bit of the blue light. In fact, if you have any friends that are growing really good marijuana plants, ask them what color lights they use to feed their plants. And you'll find that it's this blue part of the spectrum, around 460 nanometers, which is the length of the wave, and 860. If you can cover those two, you're going to be eliminating these winter, moody, anxiety-driven days that we don't know what to do with. That's one strategy. The next one is more of a shamanic strategy, which is to keep our field clean. When we don't have the sunlight, when we don't have the freshness of springtime, we don't have the outdoor access that we have during summer, our bodies and our fields begin to get toxic. And the solution here, of course, is to smudge, is to cleanse yourself, is to cleanse your field. And to do that, we can use a smudge stick. So I love to use Palo Santo as my favorite smudge, but you can use sage, you can use anything else that will cleanse your field. And fire, of course, is pure sunlight. The ancient peoples understood that when they saw a log burning, that what was happening is that the log was releasing the sunlight that had been trapped in that tree trunk as the earth spun around the sun. The bands of sunlight that had been collected were being set free again. So fire, when you're working with fire to cleanse, you're working with sunlight, with pure sunlight. So you can work with the fire to cleanse yourself, or you can use the smudge, the smoke, to cleanse your field. And when you're using the smudge, you notice that you have that red light again. That part of the light spectrum that mitochondria and that our hearts and our souls really respond to. I do this sometimes twice a day during the winter time when I don't have access to the direct sunlight, especially if I've been working with a client and I've been working with heavy energies or intense energies. I want to clear them from my field. And smudging with sage or with Palo Santo or with other forms of incense is extraordinary. When you go into a Hindu temple, you find that they're burning incense everywhere. It's not only to have the air smell good, but it's really to cleanse the space, to cleanse the field with sweetness, with the sweetness of the incense. Next, I'd like to share with you a breathing practice that can help to move the energy during these moody, kind of stagnant days. And this is called the 7-7-7 breath. We've worked with an earlier breath, which is the 4-4-4 breath, which is to reset fight or flight. But the 7-7-7 breath does the opposite. It doesn't activate fight or flight, it activates all of your energy systems. And it goes like this. You inhale to a count of 7, you hold the breath to a count of 7, and you exhale to a count of 7. So inhale and hold, exhale to 7, and inhale to 7 once again. You do not hold the breath on empty as we do with other breathing practices. So let's try this together. First, let's take a couple of deep cleansing breaths. And another one. And now inhaling to a count of 7. Holding to 7. Exhaling to 7. Inhaling to 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Holding to 7. 5, 6, 7. Exhaling to 7. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Inhaling to 7. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Holding to 7. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhaling to 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Inhaling to 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Holding to 7. Exhaling to 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Inhaling to 7. Holding to 7. Exhaling to 7. Inhaling to 7. Holding to 7. Exhaling to 7. Inhaling to 7. Holding to 7. Exhaling to 7. And now a deep inhalation, deep breath. Exhale. Do not do this breath right before going to bed because it'll keep you up. But if you do it in the morning, do it during the day, you'll find that it'll give you increased energy that it will get your mitochondria going, burning fuel, giving you the resources you need to have an extraordinary day. These are shamanic strategies. Remember that shamans have lived in many regions and parts of the world, including the Nordic regions, including the high mountains when there's snow around them. So they had to discover ways of remaining connected to nature, even when they had to be inside a cave because there was a blizzard happening outside. Or if you lived close to Antarctica or close to the Arctic Circle, you had to go through these long nights and use the inner light, the inner fire, which is that fire of breath and combustion. This is what happens inside your mitochondria. Your mitochondria take carbs and fats and they combust them. They create an internal fire that can light up your field and can light up your mood and lighten up your energy. Now, this internal fire that results from combusting carbs and fats turns is stored in the form of energy, in the form of an energy molecule called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. Remember biology in 10th grade? And this molecule is actually light. Adenosine, ATP, is a triphosphate, 3 phosphate molecules. Phosphate is phosphorus. It's the sparklers that you see children with during the festivities. This is light. The body stores energy as light, and then it releases that light when we need it in the form of an ATP molecule. So it's extraordinary how we not only can rely on the external light of the sun, but we can also rely on our internal light, that internal fire, which is probably the most important light. And lastly, I'd like to share with you a strategy that you can use winter or summer or spring or fall, which is to envelop yourself in your own light. In our classes and courses, we've spoken about the 8th chakra, this 8th energy center, this halo of light that we have above our heads, that in the Andes is sometimes called the Huiracocha, the source of the sacred, and that we speak about as an 8th chakra or an 8th energy center, even though it really isn't, because all of the chakras are connected to physiology. All of your energy centers are connected to a nerve bundle and an endocrine gland, the two communication systems of the body, the digital system, nerve signals, the speed of light, electrical, and then the analog system, the hormones, chemicals, slow, our feelings, our emotions, the other one, our thoughts. So these are the 7 chakras connected to the body, to organs. The 8th chakra is not really a chakra. It's basically an energy center. It's a vortex of energy that is who you are in between births. It's who you were before you were born and who you will be after you die. And the shamans of old discovered that this radiant sun, that's the Huiracocha, the 8th chakra, that you see portrayed around the Buddha and around the saints and around the sages, that is who we are in between incarnations, can actually be entered and extended and envelop you in the same way that we see the Christ, the light of the Christ enveloping the Christ, and the light of the Buddha enveloping and surrounding the Buddha. So when you envelop yourself in your own light, remember, this is like a radiant sun. This is an extraordinary antidote for those times that we feel ourselves struggling with the dark, whether it be the dark, the lack of external light, of sunlight, or that inner darkness, those black holes that we slip into sometimes. So let's review how we do this together, beginning with our hands in our heart center and dropping into our breath. And then on an in-breath, beginning to bring your hands up into this radiant orb above your head, into this radiant sun And then expanding it around you to envelop yourself in your own light. These were the parting words of the Buddha. When the Buddha was dying, Sakyamuni Buddha, he spoke to his disciples. And his parting message was, find your own light, radiate, glow with your own light, glow like the sun. And the Inca, of course, the Andean peoples, Inca, who had the greatest civilization in the Americas, even to this day, the word Inca means the child of the sun, someone who shines with their own light. That's how you could tell if you had attained shamanhood, like Buddhahood or Christhood. If you had attained Incahood, it meant that you were able to radiate, to shine with your own light. Let's do it together, bringing our hands to our heart center. And finding your breath, dropping into your breath. It's essential to do it with the breath. And then on an in-breath, beginning to bring your hands up into this radiant orb above your head, penetrating it and expanding it around you, expanding this radiant sun around your body, enveloping yourself in your own light, and residing there for a few moments. And this is actually a body. In the Amazon, they speak about it as the jaguar body, your luminous body that you will take with you beyond death, that will be the body you occupy until your next incarnation. And this radiant sun actually exists outside of ordinary time, but it manifests in time as you and me. It's who we are in our energy essence, who we are when we leave this particle state, this physical form behind. And when we can envelop ourselves in this light actually begins to transform and inform the body. This is not a practical body heater. This is a body transformer and metabolizer. It will begin to accelerate your biology. It'll turn on all your internal evolutionary engines that are in every cell in your body, telling it to evolve, to grow, to expand, to become that new human that we're all waiting for. Do this at home, do this regularly, use these strategies not only to offset the moody states that we go into, the anxiety and the restlessness and the short-temperedness, but do it as a way to awaken your own light, to radiate, to shine with your own light, even in the midst of darkness. Just like the sun shines with its own light in the darkness of space. Thank you for joining me today in our program, and I look forward to meeting with you again soon.